morning, FHS. Welcome to Flyer News. First up on today's show, the recent uptick in Tesla stock and yesterday's big wins for the Flyers.
After that, we learn more about how video games are being used for treatment for mental disorders.
To close out, Zach Stieglitz is live with another global conflict.
All that and much more coming up next on today's episode of Flyer News.
We say crazy things like I refuse to look back thinking days were better just because of younger days. I don't know what's round the corner, way I feel right now, I swear will never change. Back when we were kids, swore we will never die.
Good morning, FHS. Today's day 4 with periods running A, C, D, E, F. I'm Mackenzie Coleman.
And I'm Andrew Reynolds. A few months ago, Elon Musk surpassed the founder and former CEO of Amazon, Jeff Bezos.
As we all know, Musk owned Tesla, which is a public company, which means people can buy shares of the company, also known as stocks.
A bunch of people are buying shares in Tesla right now.
With more on this, we have Mahid to explain everything.
January's stock market action provided a really rough ride for most companies and markets. Lots have called it a valuation scrutinized market, which has especially impacted the growth space for many. Along the others, Tesla stock has also been under such considerable pressure. However, with the electric vehicle leader about to report Q4 earnings on Wednesday after the close on January 26th, many analysts believe that the emerging fundamental story at Tesla will be back on track and in focus. Tesla's company has put in a robust performance in the quarter. Many of its peers saw Tesla beat the street unit's forecast by 16%. With Tesla's high-class problem of demand outstripping supply resulting in around 5 to 6 month delays in some parts of the world, the openings will be the only key to alleviating these issues. Pre-production is already underway at the Austin facility and pending with resolution of Europe logistics issues. Berlin should open soon too, with these solving the global bottlenecks of production. Ives only believes that by the end of 2022, Tesla's capacity will increase from roughly 1 million today to around 2 million units annually. To this end, Ives reiterates an outperform rating along with a $1,400 price target. Should the target be met, investors are looking at an upside of 52% from current levels. Overall, there are plenty of square bulls among Ives colleagues, although some are not quite as convinced. Tesla's moderate buy consensus rating is based on 15 days, 8 holds, and 7 sales, going by the $1,074.69 average target. Shares will see 17% growth in the year coming ahead.
Flyer sports this week has been pretty busy. If you watched the early bird yesterday, we had senior captain of the swim and dive team, Bryce Casey, on the show to talk about boys swim and dive and their meet against Brookline. Yesterday they ended up with the W, but that was yesterday's challenge. Today's challenge for the team, the league championships. Good luck to the boys on the meet. And also speaking of the early bird, your favorite host Griffin and Shea were both in action, but on the mat yesterday. The wrestling squad had a meet against Brookline and won. In Griffin's own words, as he texted me last night, they got dogged on. Also, if you haven't already checked out Griffin and Shea's feature on the Metro West Daily, which was focused on the early bird as well as their wrestling, and as wrestling and the boys swim and dive took on Brookline, the Brookline Warriors yesterday, both boys and girls hockey were in action last night, but against Needham. With more on those games, here's Mackenzie Coleman.
Last night was a big win for both the girls and boys varsity hockey teams against Needham. Starting off with the boys, they beat Needham 3-1. In the first period, Needham scored 1, leaving the team behind 0-1. In the second period, the boys picked it up, scoring all 3 goals by Davin Nichols, PJ Ferrosi, and Braden Peterson. Sophomore John Hudson takes home the WWE belt until their next game on Friday at 3:45 at Loring Arena. Unfortunately, only 2 spectators are allowed per person. Moving on to the girls, they kept a tight game in the first period, keeping it 0-0. Then in the second period, Needham scored 1, making it 0-1. But in the third, Carolyn Cotta tied the game up 1-1, and with 5 seconds left in the game, Mason Pumala scored, making it 2-1 Flyers to win the game. It has been 7 years since the girls have beaten Needham, and a special shout out to goalie Liz Long, who got her first ever win for the Flyers and made 33 saves, keeping the girls in the game. They will be playing at Weymouth at 3 o'clock on Friday.
In our generation, and especially within schools, many people have had trouble paying attention in class. For some, this is the basis of attention deficit disorder.
There are medicines and other strategies to help combat these, but those just don't work on some people.
In recent events, the FDA approved the first video game trying to treat ADHD.
We have Kanwar bringing all the information on Evener RX, so let's check it out.
Lately, there have been many treatments coming out for disability patients which are very interesting. ADHD, a chronic condition including attention difficulty, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness, which usually affects children, now has a new treatment to help manage their symptoms and not affect the daily lives of the patients. Atal Interactive, a startup company in Boston, is releasing the first Food and Drug Administration game approved prescription video game to help ADHD patients named Endeavor RX. Doctors can prescribe it to 8 to 12-year-olds who have been diagnosed with ADHD and have demonstrated an issue with attention. But Atal Interactive is also seeking approval to offer Endeavor RX to children ages 3 to 7 with ADHD. Additionally, this company has additional games to help other patients with other disabilities, for example, autism spectrum disorder, multiple sclerosis, and depression. Atal has many big plans for the future of treating and helping people with their disabilities. Chief Executive Edie Martucci said in a statement, "Drive the commercialization of our platform and advance our deep pipeline of prescription digital therapeutics to help people living with cognitive impairments across the globe." With additional $160 million Atal will raise with the prescription game, Atal will be able to bring out other big ideas and treatments for patients. Atal has gotten big deals from this prescription game, and Endeavor RX has brought in Atal out to the public and brought in them big growth. But the questions that are raised from Endeavor RX are, how many other disabilities are there that can be solved from video games? Will this change the interface and bring out more new treatments for patients? And how many other startups are there also working on other products which will help in the future? That's it for this story. I'm Kanwar Singh, and back to the desk.
It's been a minute since we heard from Zach with an update on national news.
I know, there has been a ton of updates, especially concerning Ukraine and Russia.
And much more, here with a brand new installment of Global Convicts, we have Zach Steiglitz.
And no one ever hated, just try to use imagination.
Airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars. I can really use a wish right now. Wish right now. Wish right now. Can we pretend that
Hello, and welcome back to Global Conflicts. To start, the British Royal Navy has seized more than a ton of illegal drugs, worth almost $20.3 million in the Gulf of Oman, the UK Ministry of Defence said in a statement on Sunday. In an operation lasting almost 10 hours, a team from the warship boarded a suspect in international waters off the coast of Oman. They seized 663 kilograms of heroin, 83 kilograms of methamphetamine, and 291 kilograms of hashish and marijuana, the statement said. A team from the HMS Montrose approached a small vessel on 2 rigid-hulled inflatable boats. They searched the vessel and were able to collect the illegal drugs. After the drugs were captured, they were analyzed and destroyed. Next up, the German Navy chief resigns after suggesting Putin deserves respect. Vice Admiral K. Alsham Stonebach said he asked the German Defense Ministry, Christine Lambrecht, to relieve him of his duties, effective immediately. Schoenbach got into the situation over several remarks that included a suggestion that Russian President Vladimir Putin probably deserved respect. He claimed that the comments he made during the talk were only his personal opinion at that moment, and that they corresponded in no way with the official position of the Ministry of Defense. What led him to resign was he said the remarks were increasingly weighing on my office, and therefore he decided to resign. A brief history of Schoenbach was he took over as Chief of the Navy, officially known as Inspector of the Navy, in March last year, after more than 35 years in the Navy. To end today's episode, we'll cover the risk of war with Ukraine and Russia.
The risk of war is not necessarily low. Some skeptics acknowledge this possibility given the lack of transparency about Putin's thinking. A few analysts, like Melinda Herring of the Atlantic Council, believe that war is the most likely outcome. She has written that Putin lost patience with Ukraine, Biden said. Yesterday, that a minor incursion would not necessarily. Biden said that a minor incursion will not necessarily pull the U.S. into the fight. Putin also creates a historical legacy that a territorial expansion could ensure by helping reverse the catastrophe of the Soviet collapse. It's very hard to gauge the probability. This is going to require very creative diplomacy to resolve, if it can be resolved, said Michael Crowley, a Times reporter. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Global Conflicts. I'm Zach Steiglitz, and back to the desk.
That's all for today's episode of Flyer News. You can rewatch this broadcast again at 5 and 7 o'clock on channels 8 Comcast, 15 RCN, or 41 Verizon Fios.
Or you can watch this and other broadcasts under the FEC tab on the school's website or on our YouTube channel.
For Flyer News, I'm Mackenzie Coleman.
And I'm Andrew Reynolds. Have a great Thursday, FHS.